Thank you very much for purchasing our Honda 750 Shadow Aero Edition here. These are going to make great little bobber here, so just bear with me and let's get started on this bad boy here. Let's see, if you'll notice first of all that I tied up the kickstand. Now the reason I like to have you do that is just for safety. If you're working on your bike and you're wrenching it and you move it forward, it could tip the kickstand over and fall, and the bike would fall, and that wouldn't be any good. So I like to tie the kickstand like that. And then the second thing you may want to do, and I love this, is if you get one of these little roll-around chairs. Mine's kind of broken and it's old, but I love it because you can sit down and roll around and work on the bike. So I would grab those before I got started on the bike because it just makes it a lot of fun. So anyway, there you have it. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and remove my side covers first before I get started here. I'm going to send those out for paint, so they just pop off there. Just go ahead and pull those off. They just are held on with some rubber grommets. So I go ahead and remove those from both sides. And then you've probably taken the seat off before, but anyway, to get the seat off these arrows, there's just a screw here on each side of the seat. One there and one on the other side. And then there's just a screw in the back. Just take that off and then you can lift the seat off. Okay, we're going to remove the rear fender, and that's real simple on these arrows. So what you do is just, there's three connectors under the seat here. There's an orange, white, and blue. There's a little tab that you just lift up there. You can probably do it with your fingernail or a little screwdriver, and then that just, the connector just comes out like that. So go ahead and disconnect all three of those, and then we'll remove the fender. I've started with the right side of the rear fender here, so I've taken these three bolts out, this one, and the one up here. And then that should allow this chrome piece to just pop off here. Go ahead and just let that hang there. Okay, you can release the wire here, and then just go ahead and pull that one out there like that. And then you should be able just to pull this one out too. So go ahead and just pull that one out, thread that wire through there. And then we'll go ahead and do the other side. I've undone the three screws on the left side now. And then if I pull this off, the signal light and this bracket will come off with it. And then you can thread the light, the wire through these little channels right here. And then just go ahead and pull that out. And then I think we can go ahead and just remove our rear fender. Okay, there it is. Whatever you do, don't sell or throw this rear fender away because we're going to use these connectors later. So hold on to those and then we'll continue on. Okay, if you decide to remove the gas tank and send it out for paint, this is what you do. Now, the main thing is to be really careful around the gasoline because it's extremely flammable. So make sure you're really careful and don't spill any on your end or whatever. Make sure it's a good ventilated area you're working in. So anyway, this is your main fuel line. I'm going to show you this with the tank off because it's much easier to film. But this is the main fuel line that comes in the back of the fuel petcock there. Make sure whatever you do to turn the fuel petcock to the off position when you undo the fuel line. And then this tube right here, this slides over a little barb in the back of the fuel petcock. That's a vacuum line, and what that does is it doesn't allow fuel to come through the petcock unless the engine's running. It's just a vacuum line that opens up that petcock when the engine's running. It's a safety device, so when the engine stops, no fuel can come out the petcock. So anyway, you want to disconnect those, and then obviously you want to take the bolt out of the back of the tank. I screwed it back in the bike. That's a good way to do it. Just screw the screws back in the bike when you're finished. That way you won't lose them. And make sure you don't lose this washer, this big washer here. Okay, and then the other thing you want to do is there's a vent line on the back side of the tank there on the right side. Just go ahead and pull that off. It's just right at the very back there. It just comes up. Just go ahead and pull that one off. And then the last thing before you lift the tank is you want to take the instrument cluster off. Just remove the two screws in the back. You can see them there. I've taken those out. And then this just slides forward and just comes off. You can see the wire that's, just go ahead and just let it drape down the side of the bike there. And there you go, and then you can go ahead and lift your tank off. Then go ahead and drain it, and you can have it painted. Okay, I'm going to remove the front fender. The front fender. It's a real easy process. If you go ahead and undo take the bolts out of these two aluminum standoffs here, and then also remove the bolts out of the fender itself. What that'll do is then you can go ahead and remove this. Just slide this down through the tire and out the front. What that will do then, it'll leave your fender just floating in there. And then make sure you pop these little bushings out too. Pop those out of those holes before, well, at least on the front here, before you slide it out the back. So, and then this, the handlebars are cocked all the way to the left side, so you can just squeeze the fender together and go ahead and feed it out the back. So there you have it. Okay, I've got this bike pretty much torn apart, so while everything's out to get paint, I'm going to go ahead and bob this bad boy, so let's get started. Okay, the first thing we want to do on this Honda Aero bobber here is we want to cut these rear fender supports off. That's what they look like after they've been cut. What I've done is I've cut this top flange off here first, and then I'll cut this, so let's go ahead and go to the other side and we'll show you how do we do that. Oh, this is what I've done too. These are the blades that I used. I either use this finer tooth or this little bit coarser one. They both work really well. These are about 5-inch long blades. I like the shorter ones better. Okay, if you'll notice, I've taped these holes on the shock right here, and I've wrapped some cardboard around the shock absorber here. That's just to protect us, so once you cut that, you couldn't slide that saw off and hit that nice chrome on that shock. Okay, I feel like Tim Allen here cutting this off the back of this bike here with my Sawzall. If you'll notice, what I've done here is I'm starting to cut this tab off. Keep your blade just flush with this surface right here. So when we get finished, we want this to be a nice flush cut. If it's a little jagged or ugly, don't worry about it, because some sheet metal will cover that up anyway. So let's go ahead and chop this off, and then we'll be right back. Okay, I finished cutting that off. It just took a minute. And then make sure that this is a little bit below the surface to this, or just flush. Because once we put our sheet metal over the top, we don't want that to stick up there. So anyway, you can always grind that a little bit later. And then what I've done is I've put a piece of tape here, about even with where this little radius of this flange of this hole here blends into the flat area of the strut there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut that straight down there. Now you want to make this about straight up and down to the ground, or perpendicular to the ground. So let's go ahead and cut that off. Okay, I want to dedicate this cut to Mike at M&M Motorcycle Shop. He cracked me up one day. He said he just loved to cut motorcycles. In fact, he invited his friends over to watch him cut. So anyway, this cut is for you, Mike. And then if you'll notice, I've cut this almost all the way through. Once it starts to sag, then you can go ahead and just bust that off there. It saves that piece from falling down and scratching your motorcycle there. So a little hint, and then go ahead and just finish cutting that little barb off. And then what we want to do, we want to go ahead and take a file and deburr all these edges and grind all these little areas off that, file them smooth. So you don't want sharp edges there to cut you. So go ahead and do that, and then we'll continue on. We just got our fender back from paint, so I'm going to go ahead and show you how to mount the rear fender on the motorcycle. Grab this bracket out of your kit. Let's see, there's a bolt in the kit. Go ahead and remove the bolt, and I'll show you how this goes together. It's really cool the way we designed this. It's just kind of a real easy thing to install. This just hooks in these holes like this. So what you do is you hook this around the swing arm down below, and then you swing that up, put the bolt in and situate it, and it's in. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the bracket mounted on the motorcycle. Okay, this is the bracket mounted down on the swing arm. This is the rear tire here, obviously. Okay, if I'll just pan in on this, you can see how it's mounted in there. There's the run the bolt up through the bottom, and then there's the nut on the top there. So the nut's on the top, and that little window is in there. You can kind of use that to see the bolt when you shove it up through there. So you just kind of hook that around the swing arm, and if your tire isn't too much oversized, go ahead and slide the bracket back toward the tire like I have here. Now if your tire's a little oversized, go ahead and slide the bracket toward the front of the motorcycle as you tighten this up. Now one thing, you don't need to get that ridiculously tight. Just snug her up there until this edge here almost touches the top bracket. And that'll just situate that in there nice. I mean, you don't want it to slide around, but you don't need to get too carried away. I'll just keep bending the sheet metal. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the top view. Now if you notice too, my bracket's not painted. It's much easier to see down in there. So okay, if you'll notice, I've offset the brackets just a little bit to the left side here of the tire. That way, when your bolts in your fender in the center, it's got a little more slot there to locate it on. So you can go a little left to center on the swing arm. So anyway, there's how it looks when it's mounted in there. Kind of pound around here. So anyway, go ahead and mount that in your on your swing arm there like that, and then we'll show you how to mount the fender. Okay, go ahead and mount this bracket to the left side of the motorcycle. You just remove the axle nut and then go ahead and put that bracket on just like that, and it should locate on that little ridge right here, just like this is shown here. So go ahead and snug that back up nice and tight, and then we'll do the right side. This is the rear strut bracket for the right side of the swing arm here. If you'll notice how I've mounted it over the axle right there like that. Just kind of angle it so it kind of angles up this way for now. You don't need to get it too close because we're going to adjust that a little bit later. And then I'll show you about where it mounts on the... It mounts to the outside. Whoops, sorry about that. It mounts to the outside of the swing arm this way. So go ahead and mount that on there like that just temporarily, and we'll put the fender on. This is our rear fender. I've got it back from paint, and I've gone ahead and put the bracket on the front here. If you'll notice, I put the screw through this way. Now we give you the small drill in the kit, so the way I do it is I drill the one hole first, put the screw in it, and then drill the other hole. That way they line up really perfectly, and it works a little easier. So anyway, you'll notice I put the head of the screw this way, and then on the back side. That's how it looks on the back. I put a little bit of the silicone sealant under that, just to help hold that so it won't rotate and kind of seal it off there. So go ahead and mount that. I like to do this after the paint too, because if you get any silicone on the fender, your painter will hate it. So, okay, and then this is the back strut brace. You notice, go ahead and put silicone under this. The reason you want to silicone this in there is because later on, if you remove your fender, you don't want this strut brace to fall out and fight it when you're putting the struts in. So I've gone ahead and silicone that in there, and put the screws in and let it dry overnight if you can. And then we'll go ahead and mount this little baby right up. I'm going to jump ahead a little bit on the screws that go on these rear struts. I want to make sure that you don't forget to put the Loctite on the threads. Just put a little Loctite on these threads before you put this in here, because it's really important, because you don't want these to vibrate and come out. So do that, and then I'll show you how to mount the fender. This is how your fender looks after you mount it. I'm going to go ahead and go over it with you real quick. Okay, this is how it mounts on the front mount. You just slide it in the slot here and then push it over, and there's the washers on this side along with the nut, the line lock nut. So that goes there, and you want to center this fender on the bike. So try to get that kind of centered before you put the rear struts on. And this is the rear struts. Now if you'll notice, this is on the left side, it's the strut that has the most bend in it. That's the left one. And if you look down here, lower the camera down here. That's how it mounts. It mounts to the outside of the black bracket there that you put on earlier. And the nylock nut, the washer and the head of the screws on the outside. It's adjustable. It has a slot in it, so you can adjust it up and down. Then the nylock nut is on the inside. And then it's the same on this side. This is the strut that has the least amount of bend in it. And it mounts on that bracket just like that. And, the head and the washer on this side, and then the nylock nut is on the inside. And then we'll go back up to the top here. This is it mounts under the fender like that. The rubber washer's on the outside. This just screws right into the to the strut on the inside there. So now what you do on this is you kind of put all this together and kind of situate it around. You want to, everything's adjustable. The slots and everything allow you to adjust the fender. So make sure the front is adjusted properly, and then make sure the back of the fender is centered on the tire really well. Because when you look back from the back, you don't want that fender to be cockeyed on there. And allow you enough clearance under the underside so you don't get too close to the tire there for the threads, the nut on the bottom to hit. So go ahead and situate your fender, mount her up there, and kind of straighten it out, and then double check everything, make sure it's nice and tight when you get finished. And then make sure and Loctite these. And then later on, if you ever decide to take the fender off, well, you'll have to eventually to change a tire or whatever, just undo the front screw and then the bottom screws here, and you can take the fender right off. So go ahead and do that, and then we'll put the front fender on. Oh, and one final note on this right side, this block here that has the two screws in it, make sure you double check and snug those up. You can see it's a little cockeyed to this, but that doesn't matter. As long as it's fairly straight to the strut, that should be fine. So anyway, go ahead and snug those up. Let's go ahead and mount the front fender. It's a real simple process, so just pay attention here. Let's see. Okay, this is the back of the fender. That's the area that has a flat on it. So that will be the back of the bike. And then there's the screws on the outside. It's the Phillips screw with a rubber washer under it. And then I'll flip this over and show you how this goes. Now I've just got this hand assembled right now. I didn't tighten this, so you don't need to tighten it yet. Okay, if you'll notice, there's the steel strap here. Then the strut goes on the outside of the steel strap, so this strap is under the strut. And then there's the nylock nuts and the washers right under the nylocks there. So go ahead and put that together just like that. And we'll go ahead and mount this to the motorcycle. You can leave these loose. Next, go ahead and slide the fender in between the forks, and then go ahead and install these screws down here on the, there's some shoulder screws that we include in the fender kit. Go ahead and install those. You can leave all this stuff a little loose. Oh, one thing, be sure and Loctite these 4 screws down here. We don't use the nylock nuts on those, obviously, so you don't want those to come up, loosen up as you ride along. The front fender bounces up and down a lot, so make sure you Loctite those. And there's the right side. Now, on ours, we were able to run the brake hose bracket on the inside of the strut here. That's nice because then the strut's exactly the same as the other side. So shoulder screws on this side. And then all you have to do is just go ahead and snug everything up. And as you tighten everything up together, make sure that the fender stays nice and centered on the tire. And that's how it should look when it's finished up. Double check everything, make sure everything's snug, because like I say, you don't want this coming loose. Looks nice. Okay, grab your license plate bracket. This is the vertical model. We also sell the horizontal if you decide to go that route. So go ahead and grab that license plate bracket, and then we'll show you how to stick this on the bike. The license plate bracket mounts on these two studs down here that hold the differential on the bike. So go ahead and remove those. Be really careful. Don't tip the bike over when you try to loosen these. Mine were really tight, so go ahead and take those off. Like I say, mine were tight, so be careful. Okay, I've mounted this on the bike. I rotate the license plate bracket to the the clockwise direction as I tighten mine. Looking from the back, it was tilted out a little bit, so as you tighten that, you may want to rotate a little bit as you tighten the screws. And that's what it looks like when it's mounted on the bike. Looks good. Let's move on. Go ahead and grab these 3 pieces. We're going to put these on next. This is your tail light bracket. Then these are the 2 seat brackets that are in the kit there. So grab those and then we'll install those. Let's go ahead and mount our tail light bracket. This is the bracket here. The tail light will mount here. I'm going to go ahead and pan on this, and you can take a look how I mounted this. Okay, if you'll notice, this is going to be the seat bracket here. This is on the inside of the taillight bracket here. This taillight bracket mounts to the outside. And then just go ahead and run that bolt through there like that, and just cinch it up a little bit. You can leave it a little bit loose, so we're going to adjust this a little later anyway. So just snug that up to where it holds it in place. And do me a favor and go ahead and put this 1/4" screw in here. You can tighten that up. That keeps this. It's an anti-rotation pin, so it keeps this taillight from rotating separate from this. And you go ahead and Loctite and snug that up nice and tight. And then I'm going to pan in on this so you can see it better. Like I say, the taillight bracket goes on the outside of the seat bracket. And then go ahead and just stick the other side on too, just the same way. There again, this is the this will be the seat bracket, and there's the bolt that goes through it. So, and then there again, you don't need to snug it up too tight. Let's go ahead and remove the front light bar now. The way you do that is we're going to have to remove this headlight ring real quick to get in there and unplug the wires. So what you do is there's a screw on both sides of the headlight down here. When you take those out, make sure you don't lose the little bushings that are in there too, so be careful on that. So go ahead and take those out, and then you just pull the bottom of the headlight out, and then I kind of usually rotate them a little bit or just kind of work them a little bit, and they'll pop out of there like that. And then when you put it back together, if you wet that a little bit there and up in here, it'll probably slide back in there a little bit better. So go ahead and do that, and then we'll unplug these wires. Next, let's go ahead and unplug the light blue and orange connectors inside. Just put your fingernail under that little clip there and pull those out, and they should just come right out of there like that. So go ahead and do that, and then we'll pull this light bar off. Okay, the light bar fastens to this bracket right here. I've removed this, and then what I'll do is I'll show you how it fastens on there. You don't need to remove these two screws here on the top. You just need to do the ones underneath on the bottom there. Let me point this over here. You'll notice I've got a towel on my fender too. That's to kind of protect it in case you drop the light bar when you're taking it off. But anyway, these are the screws, and they're kind of on the back side underneath. These two right here. I think you can see those. There you go. You can see them right there. So that's how you take that off. And then go ahead and just feed that out. The wires, very carefully just feed them out of there, and then they should come out through that little opening there just fine. So do that, and then we'll continue on. Go ahead and grab this bracket, and then I'll show you how it goes on the bike. Pan over here. It's real simple to mount. Just mount it on the same mounting holes that the original was. So basically it goes on the motorcycle just like this. Just like that with these tabs hanging down. So when there it is mounted on the motorcycle, just go ahead and make sure it's nice and straight as you tighten it, and push down so it's nice and straight. Okay, let's go ahead and do our rear lights now. It's pretty simple, so just follow along and we'll show you how easy it is. And we'll make it look real professional. Okay, what you do first is you cut about 2 3-inch pieces of the small heat shrink, and what you do is you shove them down in these holes, and then go ahead and heat shrink them onto the wires there. What that does is it make them look real nice as they exit the light there. So go ahead and do that, and then we'll continue. Next, let's slide the 13-inch long piece of large heat shrink that you have in your kit. Let's slide that over the wires, all 3 wires, and it should look like this when you get it finished up here. Now, if you'll notice, the license plate light is at the bottom. Make sure that's to the bottom, and then the wires exit the left side there like that. Because we're going to go ahead and heat shrink this in that position. Get it fairly close to that screw there, but not ridiculous, because you need to undo that to put it on the tail light bracket. So go ahead and do that, and then let's heat shrink it on there. You can either use a heat gun, or I'm pretty sure a hair blow dryer will work. It just ought to be a little bit slower. So let's go ahead and heat shrink that on there. I'll be back. I'll finish it up first. Okay, the wire coming out of your stock fender, rear fender, should be have this connector and these wires in it. Go ahead and snip about 12 inches of that off there on the bike, and then bring it over to your bench, and then go ahead and take the black insulation off from it. Now, it's the one that has the white connector on it. The 2 others are the signal lights, the one with the light blue and then the orange. So you want the one with the white connector, and it'll have 3 wires coming out of it. It'll have